Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder.
Good evening, and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson, and of course with me tonight is Techy Joe. It's been a dark day. It's been a hard day. How you been doing?
I've been okay. Mostly because I'm optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
Just because this has, I feel like at least for the last 2 decades, been in the making. We
Right.
knew this was going, like this was what they were gunning for, and they got what they wanted.
Right.
So my optimism is that we can actually get women's reproductive health rights, women's health rights that are actually comprehensive and functional, not a piecemeal system being slowly dismantled and chipped away at.
Well, and that's the hope. That's the current hope. Of course, Roe v. Wade was overturned in the United States, which then puts them back to this collage of a map that will be changing within 10 days, within 30 days, within 90 days. And then we also have the abortion pills that the feds have said that the states can't regulate because it's controlled by the male. But here's the problem, and here's the problem, and here has been the problem, and this is why I get my head bit off every time someone says we have gay rights, and I go, we do not. We have a court ruling. We need the passage of, we need the Congress to take action. Everybody needs to be on their phones, blowing up their representatives' Twitters, blowing up their congressmen, senators' Twitters, demanding equal health care. We need them also demanding the Equality Act. We need them demanding the Right to Marriage Act. These issues that are not qualified. They have to be qualified by law. That way, justices cannot overturn them.
Right.
And
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah, that was fundamentally the problem here, and what has happened in 49 years since Roe v. Wade, what has happened since Windsor, is do you remember those horrible commercials about like the don't use drugs, but specifically don't like use performance enhancing drugs? The asterisk commercials, if anyone remembers those. That's what we had in terms of right to abortion, and what we currently have is right to marriage. Is we have a right with an asterisk right next to it. Meaning that by virtue of lawsuit and the Supreme Court, we have a right not enshrined in law.
Right.
meaning you have a right to do that. You don't have an actual law you can point to that says this is your legal right.
Right.
You have a court case you can point to.
Right.
Which fundamentally says trying to argue against it is going to be problematic.
Right.
And that fundamentally it's easier to just do the thing.
Right.
And that's what we've seen for 49 years out of the entirety of Roe v. Wade. And we have seen that since it is not a foundational legal point to the law, right? And is instead a court case point to the law, right? We have seen that become a clown car shit show. That is why we have you this is why we have crisis pregnancy centers. This is why we have arguments over funding for Planned Parenthood. This is why we have arguments over Medicare and Medicaid, funding for abortion and women's reproductive services. This is why we have laws that say that a pharmacist can refuse to fill a prescription.
Right. We have an FDA on battle of pain patients. Okay. This is because these things haven't been codified. Our fucking representatives and senators have not been doing a job for 49 fucking years. The past 16 years in the Senate and the Congress has been a shit show.
Yeah. Well, and it's what's turned it into this nightmare of regulation, this nightmare of, well, you can get one, it's legal to get one. We just put enough regulation that it's impossible to keep a center that provides abortion services open. But it's totally legal to get one. Okay, how's that work? Explain that. That's sort of like, that's it's like there's no real good analogies, but the closest I can get there is that's like, oh, okay, people of a certain race have the right to eat at a lunch counter. But then every single lunch counter in town shuts down. But it's perfectly legal to eat at one. You can go right up through the front door, right to that counter. There's not a single damn one open.
Right.
That would be the qualifying, or that would be the closest equivalent I can get off the top of my head.
Right.
And that's what we've done for 49 years is close the doors on the lunch counters of access.
Right.
We have made it impossible to, in your local community, walk into a reasonable medical provider that you would expect. Like, I'm sorry, how is this not part of normal gynecology? How is this not just another Tuesday in a gynecologist office? Like, how does your OBGYN not factor into this? No, we've had to segment it out to, different centers that you go to.
Right.
Then we said we're going to regulate the fuck out of them.
Right.
And require things that are unreasonable. Then we're going to make it next to impossible to operate those centers. We're going to keep them in a constant limbo of whether or not they qualify for insurance funding, federal funding, state funding, etc., while requiring they meet these unreasonable demands that we fundamentally can't argue because we have a right to it, not a legal codified law. This is what the fucking law is, right to it.
Right.
So, yeah, I really hope it is, and I know it's a cheesy line that the current president is using, and I really hope, though this is what it is that it becomes a Build Back Better.
Right.
That, like, okay, it's been blown up.
Mm-hmm.
Now's the opportunity to rebuild it as it should have been all along.
Exactly.
That if 1973, instead of getting a court decision, someone had said, okay, we need to create an abortion right as well as female reproductive rights, as well as equality in healthcare. Like, we've treated women's health like shit for eons. What would we do in this moment if we were going to be intelligent human beings
Mm-hmm.
and ensure that women have legitimate access to health care that does something other than turn them into a breeding stock?
Exactly. And furthermore, we need to take further actions. What I mean by that is we need to end this lifetime appointment of dinosaurs. We need term limits. These judges need to be chosen by the people, no longer the president. Everything needs to be chosen by the people. There needs to be an end of lifetime appointments, lifetime politicians.
Though I do think for the Supreme Court, there should be a 10-year appointment.
Oh, I think it should be less than that. I want to go
Well,
8.
here's my thing: is with the Supreme Court, there does need to be a long-standing continuity.
Yes.
Like, as in, you really don't want a Supreme Court that replaces every 2 for 8 years, even.
Right.
Like, you want this to span a lot of popular opinion.
Right.
Like, you don't want your Supreme Court justices working towards votes.
Right.
Like, you want them going through for as long as they can based on the merit of the legal case in front of them.
Right.
Like, preferably without being tied
Right.
to one political party or another.
Right.
That was the goal.
Right. And also, we have 4 justices that lied to Congress. They need to be prosecuted under the law immediately. The DOJ should file for impeachment.
Okay, and clarify what that's for.
4 justices all stated that Roe v. Wade was precedent and settled law. Those 4 justices lied to Congress during their sessions. They need to be prosecuted.
Okay, so we're talking back to their confirmation hearings.
Yes.
Okay. I do think it's worth investigating what changed.
Yes.
Because fundamentally, they're going to have to make an argument that what changed was the case that came before them added something substantial and new to the argument. I don't think they have it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this was effectively what sounded like a case that didn't really add anything new or different as much as it just got in front of the right people.
Right.
And that's never supposed to be
right
where this was at.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what your Supreme Court's supposed to do. This is not just supposed to be a group of the right people.
Right.
Per se. This is supposed to be, a living, breathing interpretation of what our rights are. This is supposed to be looking at the law and accepting that neither people nor law is perfect, and that it does take interpretation.
Right.
That as we grow, change, etc. I don't think the original decision was wrong, as in 1973. I do think the fact that we did not turn that into a law was probably our biggest misstep in 49 years. Like, you had 49 years to make a law. You had 49 years to make a law.
Right.
And let there be no question. Instead, it became political arrows for 49 years.
Right.
So I do have my issues with
that. This is another precedence. I'm agreeing with Manchin. I'm agreeing with Collins. Both of them are up in arms about this. When I'm up in arms, I'm saying they're making public statements that the justices lied during confirmation hearings. We have another justice, Justice Thomas, who has been proven that his wife was instrumental in the attempted coup of the United States. How can he remain on the bench?
It is a very important. Well, but here's the thing, though. Reversing the Supreme Court, I'm trying to think. Like, sorry, this goes outside of, like, you know, a bill becomes a law, like after school special. Like, I'm just having to take a moment. Okay, so between 1789 and 2020, the Supreme Court has reversed itself 145 times. Granted, that's a little outdated. It's a couple of years old, but it's rare. Let's go with rare.
Right.
But yeah. Let's see. That looks like one of the most well known is separate but equal. Their 1940 case, Minersville School District versus Gobitis. The court ruled 8-1 that a school district could compel public students to salute the U.S. flag, turning away a challenge from the father of Jehovah's Witnesses, who were expelled from the public schools of Minersville, Pennsylvania, for refusing to pledge allegiance to the flag on religious grounds. That one reversed. Yeah. So typically when this happens, it is typically two things. One, it's usually a massive reversal in favor of expanded rights.
Right.
So this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the unwritten territory. Like, this is normally not at all how this goes. Usually this is the Supreme Court makes a decision eons ago, 50 years or more, something like that, and then comes back later and says, okay, that was under some really messed up thinking that limited persons' rights.
Right.
And should not have occurred.
Right. Is
fundamentally when the Supreme Court usually reverses itself, when it's many years down the road and they go, wait a minute. This was not a good decision.
Right.
It limited people's rights.
Right.
It specifically targeted groups of people. And that's mostly what this has been, because like the two that I mentioned, those are cases in which that affected rights of it infringed upon the religious community, it infringed upon So that's typically when they reverse. So it's very weird.
Right.
I mean, unless we're trying to make a religious minority argument, modern day evangelical Christians are, a religious minority.
Well, again, I think there are now 5 justices that have readied themselves
Mm-hmm.
for impeachment and should ready themselves for impeachment.
Yeah, given their statements in their confirmation hearing, again, I think they would have to prove that something about this case substantially changed the game.
Yes.
That the legal argument being made so substantially changed the argument.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, as in, I would expect it to be something like, in order to go, like, well, this is settled law, like, we've seen the challenges, et cetera, in your confirmation hearing, to we reversed, something very compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also find it very interesting that we've now given them Secret Service. They have protective details now.
Mm-hmm. This was never going to be a popular decision.
Well, it's not a popular decision, and nor do I think that it is a decision that should have been made. Not only from case law, not only from looking at legal precedents, looking at historical traditional stance of the American system of law.
Mm-hmm. Like, no, there's nothing about, like, and again, there's nothing about this case that really screamed out, other than the makeup of the court,
mm-hmm.
and the who they were politically appointed by,
mm-hmm.
like what party. Nothing substantially, like, came out and screamed, "Oh yeah, this is totally going to be the one."
Mm-hmm.
It's almost, well, it is a party line vote.
Right.
Like, I mean, are we seriously, like, here's the scarier question, or the scarier realization out of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, is that we are now so politically fractured and factioned,
mm-hmm.
that the Supreme Court has been influenced.
Right.
Like, that's your takeaway.
Right.
Is that we now have party line vote out of the Supreme Court.
Right.
That argumentatively, right now, any conservative cause that hits the Supreme Court is going to get a nod.
Right.
Any liberal cause that hits the Supreme Court is going to get the downvote.
Right.
That is not how this is ever supposed to have worked.
Exactly. That is why immediately we need to move. We need to ratify. We need to contact our grandmothers, because I'm sorry, we're going to have to ask them how they fucking fought it to begin with. And we need to battle. In 1974, when President Nixon was resigned instead of being impeached, our Congress should have moved. Under the original Roe v. Wade decision, it was stated that the Congress needed to move. Now it needs to happen after 50 fucking years. It's like the Equality Act needs to move off the desk. The only way to do that is to sit down the picket signs for a minute and hit that polling booth after you check your voters' rights. Make sure you still have them. Because what they debated today literally is the full debate for all the way back to the women's right to vote.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's not like the Supreme Court is without unpopular decisions. Like, was anyone, like, well, I mean, some were, but in general speaking, was anyone thrilled with Citizens United? Like, I think it's a highly unpopular, even cross-party unpopular
mm-hmm.
decision. That Citizens United is the one that put, that said corporations have protected speech, and that contributing to a campaign is a form of protected speech, fundamentally.
Right.
So I'm sure someone could rip me apart on the particulars, but short version, that's what it's come to mean.
Right.
But I could still sit there and follow it. That it was not that while it had champions amongst party lines, the decision itself came down to the issue, not political belief.
Right.
Like, I still think it's a horrible thing to have occur, as in we told corporations, no, your money is welcome here. That was just not. But I can still understand it, and despite being unhappy with it, I can understand the ruling.
Right.
I can understand why the ruling was made. I can understand that this ruling was made on its merits, no matter how horrible it is.
Right.
Versus, this was Roe v. Wade overturn is straight down party line.
Right.
Like, there was no compelling reason.
Right.
To overturn this decision. It was entirely political.
Right. And they're making it on the decision of the word liberty.
Yeah. Which...
Liberty. That decision goes all the way back to the woman's right to vote.
Like, basically, this isn't the Roe v. Wade overturn. This is the beginning of Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, it is.
Right.
And that's not fear-mongering. It's that when you underpin that word differently, it has horrible reactionary effect.
Yes.
Like, there's no denying that. That is a fundamental word in our legal system. That is a fundamental word in a lot of Supreme Court decisions. It has knock-on effects.
Yeah.
Like, the doors of the Supreme Court just got thrown wide open for any case that has ever involved the word liberty to go right back through.
Right.
That's not a thing you wanted to play with.
Right.
Like, I thought we could have all agreed that the definition of liberty, not something you want to play with right now.
Right.
Not ever. Like, that needed to be very narrowly held on to. Like, you tightly hold on to the meaning of the word.
Right.
Because if you start futzing with its definition,
right,
you could go all the way back to slavery.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't take much.
Right.
If you futz with the definition of the word liberty. How many cases would it take to change the definition entirely of liberty?
Right.
In which you've now redefined it to a point that it supports slavery.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, that's not a word to fuck with. And they just did.
Right.
Like, fundamentally, here's what I see is, like, parallel events going on. Is there's going to be a demand that, like, it's already starting.
Right.
There will be a demand for a law to enshrine access to abortion. I think may end up being one of the best laws we've ever had.
Right.
Just because there's going to be so much rage behind it. That will be occurring on one side.
Right.
On another side, I think the Supreme Court's going to have to reverse its reversal. Because they're going to fundamentally find that what they've done
Mm-hmm.
It was smack a hornet's nest while opening a can of worms.
Right.
Like it's like, no, this is going to crawl things out of the woodwork you don't want to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to be undermining the very foundation
Mm-hmm.
of a lot of cases.
Exactly. And furthermore, when Breyers retires, which he's already set to retire, I believe this is his last session, then there's going to be a change. But that change does not look great because 4 justices have to agree to take on a case. We need, again, to move. You need to be making those phones ring, those emails fill up, those Twitter accounts. They need to think twice before they get on their Twitter. Support the ones that are useful, destroy the ones that are not. Replace them. I'm going to be really honest. Everyone needs to be voting in these elections. It needs to be a total. The only way we can get this through is Turtleface is destroyed and does not win Kentucky. Furthermore, we have a massive majority of blue in both the House and Senate, with a blue White House. And then there needs to be a quick succession of bills. Human rights, equality rights. We need to move on voters' rights on the federal level again. The one court case that Justice Thomas did not target was Virginia versus Loving, and that's because it gave him the right to marry. And for our justice to be questioning the rights of others to marry because he is married under a Supreme Court ruling, not law, but Supreme Court ruling, is dangerous.
And while that's not exactly what the overturn of Roe v. Wade did, that's exactly what it ends up doing.
Yes.
Like, I wanted to be clear, like, because it's one of those things, it would be easy to be like, wait, I thought we were talking about Roe v. Wade. No. Yeah, look at that Windsor ruling.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that flippin' Windsor ruling. Because that is, and they've already said that's going to be the next one.
Right. Justice Thomas argued in his concerning opinion released Friday, the Supreme Court should reconsider its past rulings qualifying the rights to contraception access, same-sex relationships, and same-sex marriage.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is part of that same screwed up result. Like, here's the thing, like, because I don't think you can reiterate it enough, is the problem that Roe v. Wade presented was one in which no one was happy. As in, yes, you have this right. We don't have to make it easy.
Right.
That's where Roe v. Wade has stood for 49 years.
Right.
It was a very shaky bridge without a law behind it. It, on one hand, allowed you the right to access to the morning after pill, to abortion. It also was like a favorite conservative football. It was the nuclear option for other candidates to haul them to the carpet on their thoughts about abortion. Like, it sat there in a twilight. Like, Roe v. Wade was Twilight Zone. It in equal measure helped and hurt, because that's all there was the decision. Okay, you took that bridge out with overturning Roe v. Wade. I'm sure you scored a bunch of evangelical, conservative, white Christian points. You do not know the hell, havoc, and chaos you have wreaked, because that was a bridge. As much as you hated it, it was a bridge that existed that allowed like two different interests to steadfastly cooperate.
Right.
You blew that out. The ensuing nightmare that you've created isn't just going to affect abortion access, reproductive health rights and access, contraceptive access. You thought that's where this might stop. No. This is spin the wheel. And where it lands, no one knows.
Right.
Because, I mean, yes, we already know that Windsor's probably going to come back up, and very quickly, that one's going to get overturned as well. Like, I'll say it now, it'll get overturned. Probably within the next year, if not sooner.
Right.
That's horrible, but at the same time, if that's where it was going to stop, I could reasonably sit here and go, okay, that's okay. We'll fix it. But no. You've now pulled into question so many different decisions. Like, I don't think anyone ever stopped to calculate how wide this door was going to be. Because this could haul an untold number of decisions for both sides. For both sides. Like, theoretically, you could haul Citizens United right back in.
Yeah. Because it was based on liberty. That's been the word, has been in debate. What I find interesting, they did not refer to any founding father documentation. They went on creating their own decision, not based on legal court proceedings.
Yeah.
And this is what your Republicans are doing. This is what your state legislators are doing. This is what your city governments are doing, because that's where these little nimps start at, is on your city councils.
Well, and more importantly, call it what it is. It's a bought and paid for overturn of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
This is bought and paid for.
Yeah. You can thank your neighbors that have the little maggot hats on. You can thank them for this bullshit.
Not even just them. This is where you have to stop and pull Citizens United back in. Because where do you think the money came from? I would love it. Really, I would. I would love it if this decision were bought and paid for one evangelical white Christian at a time. One MAGA hat wearing person at a time. I would find that representative, not representative of something I believe in, but populationally represented. Like, that would be a representative. Like, too much money went one way or the other. They got what they wanted.
Right.
That would be a representative decision. Unfortunately, very likely, this is more closely related to Citizens United than you could imagine.
Oh, yes. And it's directly related. And there needs to be a law, a federal policy, that a Supreme Court judge is replaced in the term of the sitting president. Here is why. If Mitch McConnell had not blocked Obama from appointing his judge.
Yeah, and Devin, that's about all you can do on that one. Like,
yeah.
And it's a hot mess.
Yes, it is a very hot mess. Clergy, stand up. Clergy that are clergy, stand the fuck up. Stand with love. Yeah. When I mean stand with love, you marry everybody. Me, everyone, me, Lady Gwendolyn, Natalie McVickers, Jason, what is Jason's last name? I can never pronounce it. Brother Jason, Rule, Father Tom. We made a commitment this morning on Facebook. Don't matter. We're legally allowed to marry. We will marry anyone. It may not be legal in this country that is going very red, but that's the next right they're coming after. And that's the next right that is a religious right. What I find interesting, within moments, I do mean moments of the decision, the Satanic Temple began making movement on this.
Oh yeah, you knew they weren't going to be happy about it.
They were not happy with it. They will be, and that everyone wants to talk bad about them, and I don't know why, because they have been the ones that keep attacking the religious right. They have kept pushing for separation of church and state, which, by the way, the Supreme Court destroyed. Yeah, before this one, our tax dollars now go to pay for religious schools.
I don't know. I never understood not liking Satanists. I mean, I know the name sounds bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I'll grant you that. Like that's one of those you need a little education on. Like I think everyone deserves a little education of who the Satanists are, because the name, it's a little hard to digest. It's a little hard to digest. But the realities is no. I mean, they're not exactly cuddly and friendly,
Right?
per se. But they're generally good people.
Right.
Like, you really, really got to separate out like the fear mongering of satanic sacrifice from the satanic panic,
Right.
and the realities of
Right.
like, no, that's not a Satanist.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
no. If your Satanist is worshiping, sacrificing, excuse me, if a Satanist is sacrificing a baby, there is something horribly wrong with their identification, because that's not a Satanist.
Right.
Like,
all right. But again, label law, they're moving. They're seeing what the ramifications are, where they're going to have to go and fight now. Because now this isn't at the Supreme Court level. This is fighting in the state level. That lovely quilted map of freaking colors of 10-day, 30-day, 90-day. It's bad that the governor of Michigan is now suing Michigan.
It's generally not a good plan.
Right.
Or a good look.
Right.
But
yeah.
No. Well, and then we also have to contend with the triggering laws.
Yes.
Because that was something that has been going on behind the scenes of this. Is multiple states. Oh, and that's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm worried. The comment is, I'm worried about them coming after us pagans. That's a legitimate concern.
Yes.
Like pagans, atheists, Satanists, like you are not a white Christian.
Right.
Yeah, there's been some massive issues here. If you hadn't noticed, I'm sure you have. But there have been some massive issues over the same 50 plus years with, and still exist. I mean, we're slapping "In God We Trust" on the back of police cars.
I want to know which one. Okay, that's my question to every person that I see that slapped on the back of their personal car. Which one? Morgan, Loki, Basmet? Which one?
There's a few.
Like furthermore, and I have comment to this. This is why every Wiccan teacher needs to have the old laws taught again. I teach them in my classes. Yes, my students get bored of them. No, they get taught.
And this is more so why.
Right.
But no, it's fundamentally, we're talking about a major shift in Supreme Court precedent. What this turns into, like, I'm sorry, you just, in one motion,
Mm-hmm.
You have basically unfurled the Welcome Tinfoil Hat Club here
Mm-hmm.
of lawsuits that wouldn't have even risen to the idea of the Supreme Court looking at.
Right.
Now being legitimate,
Yeah.
you legitimized
Mm-hmm.
an argument that should not
Right.
have been possible. Like,
Right.
you made this a thing.
Right.
You're like talking about things you're going to want to abort. This decision, oh, you're going to love learn an appreciation for an abortion out of this decision, at least in terms of legal ideas that should have never come to birth.
Right. All right, guys, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the High Priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site. It'll connect you to Keen, and if you've not been with Keen before, you'll get 3 free minutes to talk with me, so that's great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Bye, y'all. All right, and we are back. Sorry, guys, we're going to do this. It's easier than putting Joe on the spot to talk for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, my lord.
Well, it never knows what, Gizmo needs. The other dog needs in. There's one at the door.
I will say though, if we get to 15 minutes as a common thing, we're getting more fiber in your diet, is what we're doing. But anywho,
Can we get less fiber in their diet?
okay, fair enough. So alrighty, so ready to move along.
Yes, we are going to move along. We know you guys are getting a lot of coverage of Roe v. Wade. We wanted to give our perspective. We do have other stories, and the one I want to go to next is this lovely principal story.
Yeah, I don't think you can call that a lovely principal story. I have so many questions on this one. But okay, so this is out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. High school principal arrested on more than 30 felony sex charges. The freshman principal, meaning a ninth grade principal, I thought at first this article was talking about a new principal. No, he was ninth grade student principal. The freshman principal at Williamsport Area High School was arrested Tuesday on over 30 felony charges after an alleged long-term sexual relationship with a male student. So 34-year-old Roger Weaver Freed was charged with 30 counts of indecent sexual contact with a student, 1 count of sexual assault, 1 count of aggravated indecent assault, 1 count of corrupting the morals of a minor, and 3 misdemeanor counts of furnishing alcohol to a minor. And so officials say the sexual relationship started when the boy was in middle school in 2015 and ended when he was in college in April 2022. So just literally a month and a half ago. So that's where I want to stop there.
Okay.
Because most of this article goes on into like what
grooming he did.
Well, what grooming he did and how this went. 7 years though? Here's my thing. If we were talking about a high school student, like, it's wrong. Let's just get that off the table. It was wrong. Should never have happened. This is abuse by a legal guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of discussion. I'm more messed up though, or a little messed up though. I understand if you're a high school student.
Mm-hmm.
Middle school, high school, even to after, like, immediately after high school. This is a guardian that is that effectively whose authority you are under. I get that.
Right. Gizmo.
I understand that, like, you could take some time with still being, so to speak, under the spell of that relationship situation, etc. But then you go on to continue this for 4 years of college.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is where, like, I'm.
See, I need more detail for this one.
Yeah, I'm not saying this one was right. It was never right. It's always wrong. Like, on the bare merits of the first part of the relationship, when it started, where it started, how it started. He deserves to go to the jail. He is a pedophile. He has done all the wrong. I am a little mentally twisted on how this continued into college. Like 4 to 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm a little strained with how this continues, and maybe that's my own ignorance. Like, I'll more than grant that, on the nature of the relationship and the power of a abuse of authority situation, sexual assault, pedophile, grooming, however you want to word it. But I would have thought that with turning 18, being in college, being hopefully out of the area, this would have started to end. That you would have wrapped this, like you would have used distance and not being under his authority to shut this down. So I'm sitting here going, was this a situation where like the obvious like undue influence was so severe that all this got normalized to this kid, to the point that he continues on like this is a totally healthy, normal thing. And it takes until 2022 before like that starts to fall apart. Otherwise, I don't know how you, like, that's the only way I can mentally justify that one, as to how this was still an ongoing thing in April of this year.
See, this is what I'm trying to understand, and this is something that's going to have to be drawn out into court. And this will probably be one of the court cases that I follow. Yes, I follow a good bit of them. Is why after 2017 did he continue? Because he's saying he drove back to see this principal and to continue the relationship. And what looks to have happened, and I find it would be interesting, is they gained into a relationship as unlawfully and as unagreeable and egregious this is.
Yeah, there's many problems here, and this is not about diminishing the harm. Like that's not where my question is for anyone who would hear this and think that. I just don't understand.
Right.
Like the more common narrative is you have an adult abuses authority, continues that abuse during the duration in which they have authority. The situation winds down with natural progression, like that you know, you move on, like, you know, you get out of the situation. This is more so you're continuing to drive to continue that situation, like you're making effort. And so again, this isn't just like, this isn't me going, I think there's something wonky here. I mean, it is wonky.
Yeah.
But not just saying like, oh, like we should excuse this. That's not where I'm at. Where I'm at is like, how messed up is this kid?
Right.
Like, how screwed up is the situation?
Right.
That you're like, not only during the duration of time in which you actually have the ability to expel him, make him stay after class, like you have influence over this kid. You can do all that.
Right.
But even when, like, hi, you're a free adult, you can go wherever you want and do whatever you want, he can't do shit to you.
Right.
What is he going to do?
Well, and here's the question. Did he believe that he was in a relationship with this person?
Well, it also begs the question, what ended this? How did this end?
Right.
Like, was it the principal ended this and should have known that, like, you and this is horrible and I hate to say it this way, you're not running a normal, you know, run-of-the-mill abusive relationship with this kid?
Right.
Like, this seems like he was lock, stock in.
Right.
Like, he was locked in. This was a relationship. It felt like a relationship. This was, you know, he was in. And then what happened? Did the principal end the relationship? Is that what finally, broke there's no good words. Every word I want to use sounds endorsing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. But the best one I can use, I think, would be the spell that you had this kid under, the undue influence you had this kid under.
Right.
Is that what like ended it for this kid, where he's like, oh my God, like figured it out?
Right.
Was it like, how did or was it the sudden realization, this is not normal? This is so beyond not normal. This
Right.
isn't, like, hi, multiple cases, been a really fucked up situation for a few decades now. Older case.
Okay.
So way like older case.
Right.
In which, well, because that was the one where the, like, I believe 13, 14-year-old student that she sexually assaulted
Right.
ended up impregnating her,
Mm-hmm.
and it became this nightmare
Mm-hmm.
of, they were in love and they were going to get married, and like, she could not stay away from him.
Right.
Like, and everyone, and like, he was not a complaining victim.
Right.
In terms of, like, he was generally presenting that, no, I'm fine. We want to be together.
Mm-hmm.
They, I think, fundamentally did, or finally did, get married.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, like, it was one of those moments in, like, what the hell?
Right.
Like, what? In which this was the same kind of moment of, like, wait a minute. Like, none of the things are happening. Like, none of the things that you thought you understood about this are occurring. And so the question becomes, what the hell's going on here? Like, how severe is the like, in assuming that which you have to, this that these kids have been victimized, how is this not going the way it should go?
Right.
Which is like, I don't want contact with you, get the hell away from me, you abused me, you took advantage of me, out of my life.
Right.
Which is what you expect, versus what happened, which is like, let's get married, let's have another kid, let's,
Right.
stay together while my teacher who abused me goes to prison.
Right.
Wait, what? I don't, how? That's no.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the situation should have ever happened. Not that this is condoning it. Not that I'm saying anything good here. I just want to be real clear on that, because no.
This should not have been happened.
No, it shouldn't happen. It's not supposed to happen. There's very good reasons why it's not supposed to happen.
Right.
But then when it does happen and it's not, and it just doesn't fit like what you expect to have occur.
Right.
It is a moment of like, what kind of like sorcery, so to speak, is this?
Right.
I know, horrible. Again, there are no good words.
There's no good words to describe this other than pure horrible.
Well, yeah.
Because it's one of those, it's like, okay, he was 16. They met when they were 14, if I remember my school age versus grade level. So we'll say 14.
Mm-hmm.
So 16-year-old with, at that time, a 27-year-old. No, that's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I ran the math myself. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even one of those moments where, like, again, sounds horrible, not condoning it, still wrong, but a little more understandable
Right.
when you're talking 22, 23-year-old educator
Right.
and like 18, 19-year-old student.
Right.
Still wrong. The situation is not so secure, even though there are two adults in this situation.
Right.
Like, no, not how it works. But more understandable.
Right.
Like, okay, I can follow this.
Right.
Like, you know, when your educator and your student are like 2 minutes apart in, you know, age, 2 years apart in age, 3 years apart in age, 4 years apart in age, it's there's a lot of differences in those 4 years, but understandably it can happen.
Right.
More understandably it could happen.
Right.
And especially when those ages are legal consenting adult.
Right.
A little more understandable. It's just, this is not how this works.
Yeah.
Versus, no. We're talking about someone who's, you know, barely in their teens.
Right.
You know, 13, 14, 15, barely in their teens, versus someone who not only is in a authoritative position,
right,
but is also not very close in age, like at least a decade.
Right.
Like the difference of a decade at this point, because we're talking 12 years between the 15-year-old and the 27-year-old at the time, student teacher in this case. Right. And that's assuming 15 is the right age. It may be younger. If you back up 12 years from the 15-year-old, if you're okay with that situation, then you should be okay with the 15-year-old and a 3-year-old. No. That's, I mean, because I do still feel at like that, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old age, there's still a huge difference between that age and 27.
Right.
Like, that's not a small differential.
Right.
Like,
sorry guys, we had a live stream debacle earlier.
Yes.
And I'm now getting an alert that we're going live.
Oh, joy.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you getting the alert and joining us, hi, how's it going? There's more show before this. So, you know, make sure you check that out.
So everyone, I'm sure you heard about the Shell station that had gas for 69 cents a gallon.
Yes. Oh, that was a story, wasn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the manager has been fired.
Yes. And has a GoFundMe to pay for the gas that was. And here's my thing. I don't know what to call it. Stolen isn't the right word for it. Because, well, apparently, because if it were stolen, I would think you'd be filing a shit ton of police reports against all the motorists who knew they were getting product at the wrong price. Knew they were getting what had to be a horrible mistake in pricing.
Right.
Like, this wasn't a few cents. This wasn't like, you know, a reasonable, like, oh, they have a sale.
Right.
You knew
the
gas you were pumping in at 69 cents was mispriced.
Yeah, and it's because they're held responsible for it.
Yeah. I think this one is scapegoating in the worst form.
Yes.
Like, if it is that easy
Right.
to put in a wrong price on a pump, that tells me your system does not have any kind of double checking.
Right.
It should not be that easy
Right.
to just key in a new price without any validation.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the system has no validation.
Right.
Like, yes, it's more time consuming, but it also prevents mistakes. And especially for a product that, like, right now, like 5 years ago, probably wouldn't have been as big of a deal. Right now, it's a huge deal.
Right.
Like, and we're talking about massive amounts of money.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of the ways that systems and employers do inadvertently set up employees
Mm-hmm.
with systems that do not provide, counter checking
Right.
of, like, okay, what do you really mean to do that?
Yeah.
Like, hi, gas yesterday was this price. One, you're making a change of more than 5% in price, up or down.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that number is valid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. Let alone the
Mm-hmm.
ability to change it so drastically that you have less than $1 at a point in which yesterday's price, the previous price you're overriding,
Mm-hmm.
is $6 over that.
Right. Now, to follow up on this, Shell fired him, demanded he pay it, and has refused payment.
What?
Yeah.
They realized the hot potato they created.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like local management demanded the repayment, and then the corporate said, oh, no, you don't.
Right.
That was a legitimate employee mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't have occurred. The employee did not do anything intentionally wrong.
Right.
Because nothing about this says the employee decided, let's have some fun today. I want to quit my job.
Exactly.
Everything about it,
which is what he was fired for, that he planned to steal from the company.
Mm-hmm.
He could have been brought up on criminal charges. He wasn't, but the company's refusing to take payment and refusing to hire him back. So the GoFundMe people have said, if you want a refund, request a refund, because we can't send it back to you any other way. Anything left over will go to him while he attempts to find work. And since he was a manager of a gas station that had an incident, it's likely that another gas station will hire him.
See, and that's the even more screwed up thing.
Right.
Like, this is a data entry oops. Like, could happen to anyone. Have you ever misdialed a fucking phone number?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like what he did.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he got fired for. That's what cost the company thousands upon thousands of dollars. That is the system that did not have a double check.
Well, this is what I don't get. Follow me here.
Okay.
We have a few corporate gas stations. Not all of them are mom and pop stations around here, and I've seen this in other places. You'll walk into the gas station, you could fry eggs on the counter. It is so blooming hot. This normally occurs in May and again in October. And when I ask, why do you have it so hot in here? Why do you have the cooler door open trying to just get yourself a breath? They tell you, our temperature is controlled by corporate. They sent the thermostat from the corporate office.
Mm-hmm. Like, you can't trust someone to set a thermostat, but you trust them to set a gas pump. Mm-hmm. Like, just process this with us. because I see where you're going, and I'm well, and then you have to deal with this in landlord situations too. There are there are buildings that effectively your thermostat is a feel good button.
Right.
It doesn't actually change anything in the building. You can press the button up and down all you want to. It does not affect the heating and cooling.
Right.
It is completely useless. Or like, we don't trust teachers in classrooms to operate a thermostat. Can we talk about that for a minute? Again, like, or to be responsible, we set thermostats on a timer in classrooms now. Like, this was a thing that I ran across on TikTok the other day, where teachers talking about the fact their damn thermostat is on a timer. Not that it does anything.
Right.
It minorly changes, like they are allowed microscopic changes in temperature in a room. And even that is on a timer. We don't trust someone with a, bachelor's or master's degree in teaching with a thermostat.
Right.
But you, like, and I'm not saying this is right, but then you want to trust that employee to actively influence the business.
Right.
More so, I'd say this is like one central register controls all of this.
Right.
That has a time clock keeping function, that has all of the inventory for the store, that has all of the reports for the store, that controls the gas pumps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
At what point did you think it made sense to not have a manager office computer independent of all this?
Right.
So that employees could do their timekeeping without screwing up your manager.
Right.
Like, because that's what happened here, and that's what they said happened, is this dude needed to clock in while he was changing, while the manager that got fired was changing the fuel pump prices.
Right.
And in a rush to let guy clock in or out, whichever direction it was, he hit the wrong numbers.
Right.
He did, and it looks like it is a literally like a telephone dial entry.
Right.
Like, you key it in like a calculator. If you want 669, you have to hit 669. You're not changing like the dollar, the tens, and the ones.
Right.
Like, you're not doing that.
So hopefully you will find a job soon. Michelle, you suck.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I just want to add on real quick. I would hope that he would come out of this with enough publicity that his next employer knows the situation before he has to deal with it.
Right.
In an interview.
Right.
And go, look, this is why I was terminated. It's bullshit.
So, in the standing of Pride Month, our next topic will be remembering the martyrs of the Upstairs Lounge.
And this is our last one because this is our last Friday of Pride Month.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. In New Orleans, a day before the 49th anniversary of the Upstairs Lounge Party, the New Orleans City Council voted to recognize and honor the 32 victims of the deadly arson. The council also formally apologized for the city's response to the attack. Failure of the city's acknowledgement of what happened inherently prevented the city from learning from it. Before Pulse, this was the deadliest attack on a bar. What occurred was someone was kicked out of the bar. The next night, the Speakeasy bar was set ablaze and 32 people died. And nobody investigated it.
Well, and they went even further than that. This was because here, like, again, we're backing up like 50 years, 49 years. back to the 70s. We're talking 4 years after Stonewall. Not a lot had changed in the country, in the world, like in gay rights. Like there was visibility, but we were still dealing with the same assholes that, beaten, abused, raided. Like that was the police you dealt with.
Right.
Investigating this arson that were also trying to handle Stonewall that turned it into a riot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's key to really understand, like, this became a, sweep it under the rug. No one cares. It was just a bunch of queers got burned.
Right.
It was surely a punchline for a joke.
Right. Now, other two things to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the 32 victims, most of them were refused a funeral other than St. Luke's. St. Luke's did do a memorial with about 80 people present. There were 4 bodies left unclaimed. 4 bodies. No one claimed them. They are buried in pauper's grave. I think the city needs to stand up, locate those bodies, and move them to a memorial after DNA. And I'm talking genetic DNA that will identify the familiar to get a name.
Mm-hmm. The fact they were buried in unmarked graves. Like, and again, this kind of goes back to on the legal side, on the police side, on the investigative side, the city did nothing.
No.
Like, they wanted no part of this, close the book on this as quickly as possible.
Right.
And more than likely, there was a possibility these are known persons.
Mm-hmm.
In which the family just, which was a thing and can still be a thing, in which a family has, what is the word I'm looking for? Cast someone out. Effectively. Yeah, and refuses to pick up a body. Like, that's still a thing that people face.
Mm-hmm.
That even in death, you can't have the dignity of being buried properly. Right.
I can't show these pictures.
No.
Unfortunately, most of the pictures there are the pictures of the fire, and they're too graphic to show.
Yeah,
that's how bad this is.
But we can link to the video.
Yes.
So yeah, it's. I appreciate, even though it's been nearly 50 years, that we are at least making steps towards acknowledging the past mistake and taking the opportunity to learn from it and move forward from it.
Right.
Because the reality is, when you have events like these that linger in history, you legitimize the mindset that allowed them to occur.
Right.
The abuse, bullying, lack of dignity or respect that allowed this to occur.
Right. And that needs to change. All right, so let's move on to Are You the Asshole? We do have one good news story that we will talk about at the end of the show. It's a bit of silly news because I thought we could use it.
Yes. It's been a heavy night. All right. Am I the asshole for not telling my family my children aren't biologically mine? This is a throwaway account because a lot of people I know have read it, and I don't want even more people to get involved in my family and personal affairs. So as the title says, my 34 male 3 children, 6-year-old female, 3-year-old male, and 1-year-old female, aren't biologically mine. Both my father's and my mother's families have some pretty bad health problems, and both my parents are pretty religious and have always believed in natural family planning. My older brother, 37 male, and I were thankfully healthy, but my little sister, 24 female, suffers from severe health problems. I have 3 siblings that passed away at very young ages. My brother and his wife are just as religious as our parents. They have had 5 children. 1 passed away 10 years ago, and one of the other 4 isn't expected to live past their early 20s. They are still willing to have more children if it's God's will, and have yet to provide their children with grief support or therapy. 10 years ago, when we buried my nibbling, I told my girlfriend, now she is my wife of 9 years, that I was never having biological children. The chance of me having a sick child that we would have to watch suffer and die were too high. We could adopt or use a sperm donor. We chose the sperm donor option and now have 3 beautiful, healthy children I love to death. I chose to not tell my family for multiple reasons. I knew they would treat my decision as unnatural, treat my children differently, make it all about themselves, and I didn't want the drama. My mother got suspicious that none of my children looked like anyone at in the family, and had a secret DNA test done on all 3 of them. Of course, it came back negative. Instead of calling me, I would have told the truth. She decided to confront my wife in the middle of a family celebration. As luck would have it, I had trouble at work that day, so my wife went ahead with the kids and I was supposed to get there later. My sister sent me a strange text, so I left my job and got there in the middle of a screaming match. My family were yelling at my wife, calling her names. My babies were crying. I told them that I knew and that they were still my kids. How they were conceived, etc. My parents, brother, and other family members still blame my wife and father. And my father said that she tricked them into caring for her bastards. After that, I saw red, started yelling myself, and finished by telling them they were my children. If they weren't their grandchildren, that meant that I wasn't their son, and there was no need to have contact with each other anymore. Now extended family members and friends are blowing up my phone, telling me that my parents simply reacted like this because they were blindsided, that I went nuclear for no reason, and need to talk to my parents and my brother. So, am I the asshole?
No, they are. It was none of their business.
No. Here's the thing, and it can't be stressed enough. You can have the personal belief you choose.
Mm-hmm.
And if your personal belief is, despite all evidence regarding the health problems in this family,
Mm-hmm.
that, natural family planning and God's will are the, contraception and, family planning you want to go with,
Right.
that's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's your choice.
Right.
What you can't do with your religious belief
Mm-hmm.
and your thoughts and feelings is determine what someone else does.
Right.
Which is what fundamentally this family wanted. Like, that's what they're really mad about. Is you didn't do the thing we did.
Right.
You didn't follow our beliefs. You didn't tell us, because you knew we weren't going to react well to it,
Right.
what you chose. I don't think this was ever going to be a quiet, calm conversation, no matter how the information came out.
Right.
I think it is absolutely horrific that you would do a DNA test on not your children, but your
Right.
grandchildren.
Right.
And that you would intentionally confront someone about the results of that
Right.
in front of the same children.
Right.
You're a monster for that.
Right.
Like, you had no right to do that in front of the kids. I don't care what your feelings are towards the kid in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept. I feel this strongly. You have to accept these are children.
Right.
They had no place in this conversation whatsoever.
Right.
Like, this was an issue between you and their parents, not them.
Right.
Now, what you would have chosen to do after the fact,
right,
would more than likely involve those children, but they didn't need to be in the middle of that situation.
Right.
Like that. No.
No.
Sorry, you're not. So OP, totally not the asshole. I hate your family is full of monsters.
Exactly. And, this was done out of spite. Because OP goes in to further state that it was 23andMe. I didn't consider the possibility of the donors or their families matching. I won't press charges because I don't feel it's worth the money, time, and harassment. I will contact the websites and tell them to destroy the kids. Honestly, I'm so upset with my parents. I knew they didn't like my wife. She isn't religious. She has a career instead of staying home. Made it clear that she would have at most 3 children instead of us having as many as God gave her. She refused my mother's offer to stay with us and help her with the babies. She put them in daycare instead of letting my mother babysit. What I don't understand is why they blame my wife when I never gave any reason. I wanted something different. My wife and I were in a complete agreement about the above choice. I didn't expect that she would be suspected of cheating or accusing her in front of our family. We both thought the relationship was getting better. I am so heartbroken about the whole thing. I always wanted a close relationship with my parents, and I feel it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, though. The reason they jumped to the cheating, something tells, well, basically, I know it's not something tells me, it's I know. It was the only logical conclusion they could make because it was unfathomable to them.
Right.
That you would have agreed to this, that any man would have agreed to this, that this is where their brain was.
Right.
Was, no, there's no possible way you agreed to this. Like, that didn't cross their mind. The immediate logical answer was she cheated.
Yeah.
Or if she didn't cheat, then she definitely played fast and loose with some truth and did something.
Right. And I'm going to state this: family is built. You are not inherent family because you give birth.
Yeah.
Or because the DNA structure matches. This was an invasion of privacy beyond the invasion of privacy. This is destructive. This was harmful to the children. This was harmful to the wife and husband. How egregious is it?
Well, and moreover, the fact that just anyone, because that's the other part of this story, is the fact that just anyone can walk into a store, pick up a DNA kit, DNA test their grandkids, send off for results,
lie and sign a fake contractual agreement giving permission
that you don't have the right to give.
Right.
Like, no, I'm sorry. There's so many things wrong with this. But I also understand why he doesn't want to sue is because good luck. Like, fundamentally, the mother-in-law, or the mother, the grandmother in this situation, is the one who took on like she's the one who lied. Like, how
Yeah.
was 23andMe really supposed to know?
It wasn't 23andMe that he would have to sue. He would have to file charges against her for invasion of privacy.
Right. I would, however, like, here's the other part, is monetarily, this is probably nothing, but in terms of monetarily, I can understand it may not be worth the damages and the harm and the time and the trouble and the effort to go through. Here's the thing, though. Your 3 kids are now, their DNA is the property of this company.
Right.
It is out there in a database sitting there.
Right.
They, like, that is a very serious consideration.
Right.
Like, so it's not just an invasion of their privacy, but it's also something that, like, why?
Right.
Like, that's really not what, like, this should all involve, like, here's my thing. I really think if you're going to use something as commercial as 23andMe,
right,
you need to be a consenting adult,
right,
that understands you're being put into a database that is now being used by law enforcement to track serial killers.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like, this isn't just cute information about your genealogy and some, like, finding out that grandpa couldn't keep it in his pants. This is also becoming a problem with not just, like, okay, so now your kids can never be serial killers.
Right.
Like, you're now screwing with the DNA of all the sperm donors being in this system as well.
Right.
Like, this made decisions for a lot of people.
Right.
Without any consent.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. If you have questions, you go to a private lab, but most likely she went with a commercial route.
She did. She went with 23andMe. It's been confirmed.
Right, but what I mean is she went with them because no one was going to ask her any questions or challenge her as to why she's doing a familial DNA test on these children.
Right.
Like, who are these children to you?
And
what rights do you have? What court order gives you the right to be here asking for this test?
Right. So, yes, your mother-in-law and your father-in-law are assholes. Your mother and father are assholes. And you made a wise decision for you.
Yeah.
Delete.
No, I cannot at all. Like, no. I can fully understand it. Like, I can understand why you made the decision. Like, I'm sorry, you like, and I hate it for you that your family has the like, if your family were a dog breed, breeding you would not be recommended. As in, you have so many health problems associated with your family that you're playing Russian roulette with every kid you have. Like, I can understand the decision. Like, this isn't a designer baby situation where you just wanted better. This is a situation where the harm of reproduction.
Well, what gets me is the even more religious lay-in here. This troubles me, and it really didn't hit me. Like, the dots didn't connect until we were going through the story. Okay. When we went to Walmart today, what was the first thing that I said when we went in?
It's
and
Friday?
Like, duh.
I thought it was It's Friday.
Yeah. Oh, it's Friday. Did you not see why I said that?
Apparently, I'm still not getting it.
It's Friday. It's shopping day. Every Pentecostal lady in Oak Hill was at Walmart's today. I'm surprised we got out of there as quickly as we did without being normaled. Maybe we got all that at Cheers when we had lunch, but
yeah, normed.
Yeah, normed. But at the same time, it's that religious indoctrination of as many children as God will give you. Women are not breeding cows.
Well, and there is a massive, like, this is the whole point. Now, like, natural family planning, like, you realize that's a death sentence, right? Like, here's the thing, that, like, that's where that comes to for a lot of women, is natural family planning is a death sentence.
Yeah.
Like, no, please don't. Like, no, I'm sorry. This was never a good plan.
Mm-mm.
Natural family planning was never a good plan.
Right.
Like, it doesn't work.
Right.
Well, or more importantly, it works. You just get all kinds of kids until someone dies.
Right.
And then they remarry and they have even more kids.
Right.
And it just continues.
Right.
No.
It's not healthy. It's not good. It's unhealthy for the women. The women have their, I don't care. The women have the right to be who they are. A family has the rights to make decisions on how many children they should have. And go forth and prosper is when there was, sufficient resources for that. Granted, I understand we lost, over 1 million people. We lost because of a failed presidency and COVID, over 1 million people, and there's a vast opening in the economy, and they're looking at China that limited 2 births. Now going, oh my God, there's not enough population there to continue what they've been doing. So now they've moved it to the government saying you can have 3 children. But what in the hell? How?
Well, and moreover, if you want to change birth rate, forcing women to have children is not the answer. If you want to change birth rate, this is a family problem. This is a wage problem. This is a money problem. You cannot survive. Like, everyone's first question with John and Kate plus 8 or 19 and counting or wherever the hell the Duggars are up to this week.
21
and counting. How the hell do you afford it?
Yeah.
How do you afford that many children? How do you not live in abject poverty or worse?
And it's been proven that they lived in abject poverty up until the show, up until they turned their family into a circus act.
One, that's not even reasonable. Like, that's something that one family can do, and it's entertainment. Like, on the weird definition of entertainment that we have as a society and culture, that's a whole other topic for a whole other
second.
But that's something that, like, you cannot reasonably expect you're just going to have 10, 11, 12 kids pick up a network television show deal, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, like, and keep going. That's not feasible for the average American family.
Right.
It's not. You cannot, like, that is the equivalent of expecting to win the lottery and just, like, that's your life plan.
Right.
Like, you're going to earn $1, you're going to spend $1 or $2 on lottery tickets, and this is how you're going to finance your life, is that you're going to win the lottery. No, this could have worked out very horribly for all of them. It is fortunate, extremely fortunate, that they ended up on a television show that gave them the money to be able to afford to support the reproductive choice they made. I'm not throwing off on the choice. I think it's a choice you can make. I think it's a very frightening choice. I think it's a very hard to understand choice. I think it is a very medically ill-advised choice.
Right.
But I'm sure you have a doctor, I hope, telling you, what your risks are and taking care of your health to allow you to continue to do this and live. Thank you, 21st century medicine. At the same time, that is a very unique situation. And for the vast majority of people, one kid financially is, let's call it what it is, a burden. Like, it's tax, deduction, but it's a burden. Like, you still have to spend the money. They need braces and after school activities and all this stuff. Or you've neglected this child by financial poverty.
Right.
Like, you don't have the resources to raise a child. Numerically, like, just by the numbers, we already know. In 1960, a one working parent household could reasonably support a family of, a father, mother, and one child. Right now, we are struggling as a population to even have a single adult, male at that, so you get the most benefit of the pink tax. A single male struggles to have enough income to live independently. That's what 40 years did financially. That's what almost 50 years now has done financially. By the end of the 70s, that was starting to erode and has eroded ever since, to the point that, in stark contrast, back in the 70s, mom, dad, and a child could reasonably live on the income that a high school graduate makes.
Right.
No extra training, no extra this, that, and everything else. Now, you're lucky if, as an adult with a high school education, you can get a job to support one and only one person, which is yourself. Let alone fund a marriage and or support a child.
Right. Well, let's be bluntly honest. Let's be fucking transparent about it. We are in a fortunate situation financially. We have 3 working adults, 2 independent business owners, and 1 employee W-2. We own a house. We own 1 vehicle. We will own another vehicle within 16 months. We're doing good to keep the lights on, people. How they are raising children financially is beyond me.
Like, there's no way.
And we both make above average income for this state. For this state.
And then when you factor in the W-2, they are making more than minimum wage. Now, they're not getting full 40 hours.
Right.
Which has always been a gameplay that employers do.
Right.
And I get that part. But reasonably, it takes the 3 of us to make this work at this point. And it's not, and I don't want to sound pessimistic, like it's not getting better, it'll never get better. But it's not getting better. Like, gas prices are continuing to go up.
Utilities have went up 52% in the past 2 years. And when I say we own, that means we own. There's no mortgages. It is ours.
Right.
Well, it's rented as ours because you got to pay taxes or it gets sold, but it's ours.
Yeah. Well, and I have that long-standing belief no one ever owns a house. No one owns a house.
Right.
Like, it's the lie. Like, home ownership is such a fucking lie. Can we all just agree to that? You don't own a home. No one owns a home. No one has ever owned a home. You rent a home. You rent it in the form of taxes. You rent it in the form of maintenance, or you write a check to someone doing the same fucking thing as you are that just happens to make the numbers work a little better than one person with one house ever could.
Right. So, again, I think this X family, and that's what they should be, is X family, are the assholes, not you. All right, moving on to relationship. I'm going to take this one on. I don't know if this is the one I sent you. This is the one I'm taking on.
All right, take it on, Vanna.
All right, I'm sending it over so that you can help out.
Okay.
My girlfriend has only been eating salad. I just want to state I'm not complaining. I'm worried, and I'm seeking advice. For the past 2 weeks, my girlfriend, 25, has only been eating salad twice a day, and that's it. The salad consists of spinach, feta cheese, and blueberries. At first glance, it doesn't seem bad, but it is the only thing that she has been eating for breakfast and dinner for the past 2 weeks. I, 26, have tried giving her other food to eat, but she doesn't take it. My main concern is because she hasn't been eating enough, and it's starting to affect her health. The past couple days, she has felt dizzy spells, and her head aches. She has lost weight. She was at a healthy weight for her height and age. She didn't need to lose any weight. The worry for her has gone beyond me. Her parents, her sister are as well, because they said that she suffered from an eating disorder from the ages of 12 to 17. And I'm afraid that this is the beginning of a problem. However, according to the doctor that I called, I can't force her to get medical help because she is an adult. Is there anything I can do to help her? No, unfortunately.
Well, as in, can you compel her, force her to go not against her will? No, you cannot.
No.
And that's a sad reality. Like, this actually has to get to the point that it affects her to the point of being unconscious. And even then, you have limited rights. Like, you may only...
He has no rights.
Well, right, but that goes next of kin, though. And it sounds like the mother and the sister are already worried, and I would assume that would be the next of kin.
Right.
So that's as close as you get on that one. But even then, that's limited to the duration of when she is unconscious.
Right.
Because let's get real, if she's already dizzy and has headaches, she's not getting adequate nutrition, she is severely risking passing out.
Right.
Like, because, and this very much sounds like anxiety and an eating disorder off the top of my head, just like the way this is phrased. I think the best thing anyone can do in this is try to identify what has her so upset.
Right. Why is she turning this inward? Why? And we're going to see this. We are going to see this. We are going to see triggers kicking on. We are going to see problems kicking in because of all the stress we're currently under. Watch them. Watch the ones that you know have reoccurring issues. Watch the ones that have stress issues. Take care of yourself also. That means taking a nap or realizing that you can't focus. So wrap it up. Go to bed. Take a nap. Watch something stupid. Listen to something stupid. Not because you're not concerned, but because you will get overwhelmed. Did it today. Totally overwhelmed. With news, with with my phone going off as much as it was, with updates, because of course, because I run podcasts, I have keywords for news stories. Justice Thomas's news story hit my phone 15 times. Quickly. I had to go, okay, I can't do this. I've got a ton of shit to work to do. Our podcasts, I'm sorry, haven't made it to Spotify. I'm sorry that our websites ain't up to date. I'm sorry that clients today have been waiting for me to take calls. I couldn't do it. But we have to start recognizing the effect of stress. We have to start recognizing the effect of mental health. We have to take stances on this, and we have to be there to support. The only thing he can do right now is listen. Listen for those little signs. Listen for those little unsaid words. Listen for those comments of, I'm just stupid.
Whatever it is.
That.
Like, this is most likely going to turn into, there is some massive stressor that just hit.
Right.
And like, if you want to do something as weird and confused as this may sound, vacation, dates, shopping, like, this is about trying to create relaxation. Puppies, trip, just, I'm not saying get someone a puppy. I'm just saying you can go to the pet store and they'll let you touch them. Like, you can play with a puppy. Play with a puppy.
Right.
Like, encourage positive, healthy activities, and especially low impact, low energy activities, because now is not the time to send someone on like a hike.
Right.
But low impact activities that can help to de-stress, like book a massage, like pay for the mani-pedi. I know all this sounds ridiculous, but honestly, these are the best de-stressors to try to help someone. Like, and I know they use them for everything, but seriously, this is one instance where it's legit. This isn't about fix the problem with a mani-pedi.
No.
This is about trying to get under the surface of what the hell is going on. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Right.
Like, this is not the solution. This is the crowbar that helps you find out. Like, if you're to the point you want to like medically commit someone, that's a legitimate amount of concern.
Right.
So your crowbar in this situation, because you can't do that, is trying to get under the surface of what the hell's going on with you.
Right.
Why are you so stressed? Yeah. Why are you at the point in which your stress is resurging your eating disorder?
Right.
Or potentially doing it?
Right.
Like, what's out of control in your life?
Right.
Because eating disorders are almost always about control.
Yes.
Like, it is, like, it's this weird connection that we all developed in like early adolescent or like early childhood, is the understanding that we can control different things in our environment. For people with eating disorders, that's usually where some trauma hit, is in that early childhood, right at that stage.
Right.
And so controlling food was a way to have control over their life, and it becomes a lifelong problem.
Right.
So that when they're like 12 to 17 and something happens, they exert control the only way they know.
Exactly. All right, guys. Time for our silly news. Take it away, because your favorite product is changing.
I know it. It's like, and this is a weird transition, but yes. Kraft macaroni and cheese is no more. The product has not gone away, but Kraft macaroni and cheese is no longer the official name for macaroni and cheese from Kraft. It is now Kraft mac and cheese. That is its official name. So the household staple is, so Kraft macaroni and cheese is changing its name after 85 years. The household staple is now called Kraft mac and cheese, which is meant to reflect the way fans organically talk about the brand, the company announced Wednesday. Packaging featuring the new name will hit shelves in August. Along with the shortened name, shoppers will notice the box receiving a subtle makeover that includes a refreshed logo, typography, and single hue blue that amplifies the brand's most recognizable asset, the noodle smile. Kraft said the new name and box are part of an effort to rebrand its mac and cheese as comfort food. That distinction helps it differentiate from healthier products eating up shelf space. Goodles, for example, is a Gal Gadot-backed startup that sells boxed macaroni and cheese with more protein and fiber at a higher price. Banza and Annie's also make similar products that market themselves as more wholesome than Kraft's version. Kraft's mac and cheese affordability has also taken a hit recently. Dozens of its products got price hikes in recent months, including a 3.5% increase on a pack of Easy Mac and a 20% price hike for a 7.25-ounce dish of Kraft Big Bowl macaroni and cheese. Strong demand, supply constraints, and uncertainty increased input costs for Kraft, the company said in a letter to suppliers, adding that the upward trend in packaging, transportation, ingredients, and labor costs persists, reaching levels not seen in decades. Those higher costs led to the company's decision to raise prices. Meanwhile, Kraft Heinz company stock is up about 1% for the year.
Mm-hmm. So here's my question. Is it going to change your view of it?
No.
No.
And
it's not going to be your comfort food.
Well, no, I mean, no, it is. But what I mean is, I'm not even that, specific on my macaroni and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a dollar, whatever the special is on macaroni and cheese, I don't see a big enough difference.
Mm-hmm. And it took me 2 years to get this because I would go through the maintenance of making you homemade macaroni and cheese because I cook from scratch.
And I like homemade macaroni and cheese, but I don't need someone to knock me out for me to get my macaroni and cheese fix.
No, you don't.
What?
I have thrown away more homemade macaroni and cheese than I have Kroger's.
Honey, that's by volume. That's by volume, though.
Okay.
Honey, we're talking about, because the bigger issue was we were making 9x13s at one point.
2 of them.
Fully loaded 9x13.
Mm-hmm.
And, because that's a 3-inch deep casserole dish, by the way.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. That's a lot of macaroni and cheese.
I didn't have the 20x13.
No, God, no. Jesus, that's, I'm sorry, that is family reunion sizing. Even by my own definitions, that's family reunion sizing. 8x8 is like a dinner with 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least one dinner with 3 people, all eating a serving, have to go through that before the 8x8 has a chance of being eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Before it, is no longer viable in the fridge.
Right.
I'm a box person. Fix me a box. That's a good 2 to 3 servings for me on top of whatever you may eat.
Right. Because I don't eat
maybe
it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a heavy show. We know it has.
It has.
We're sorry. We will get through this. We will build better. We will do more. We must do more. We must not rest until we restore all American citizens to equal citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank. Clergy's got to take a stand. Humans got to take a stand. We have to declare and demand that our government take a stand for the health and safety and well-being of the American people. And if not, we need to fire them. Get out and vote. But first, we want to thank our sponsors.
Yes, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, the ever wonderful Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, and the Laughing Tree Grove. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and become one of our lovely baristas and all the benefits they receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yep. Now, I understand that HBO has the George Carlin special on it. everyone's homework this weekend is to go watch it and laugh. Good night, y'all. Stay safe.
night.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now.